Okay, call the meeting of Bennington School District May 1st to order. We're lucky enough this evening to have the Bennington Elementary, not choir, but what is it called? Festival Chorus. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I'm Caitlin Shaw, I'm a music teacher at Bennington Elementary School. Wendy Fagerholm, who's the band director at Monument School and Molly Stark School, is at the piano, and Janie Hart, who's the music teacher at Molly Stark School, is behind and is going to help us sing. We presented our festival chorus concert last week, last Wednesday, and which included students from all of the SBSU elementary schools as well as the 6th graders at the middle school, and we're presenting 3 of our songs for you. The first one is called Tamatu. And this particular arrangement incorporates many of the tunes that he wrote along with the main tune.
Should Okay, that made my day.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Okay. The next item on the agenda will be citizens' comments. Any citizen with a comment?
Hi, I'm coming to the board this evening in regards to the recent budget situation that we've had here in Bennington. We've gone through a series of decisions that have led us to this point where we've had to really consider some serious cuts. And one of the most startling of which, to me, for some reason, I still can't get my mind off of it, and that's the fact of losing crossing guards. I just feel like, when did we become a community where we're actually going to put a dollar value on the students' life? And I think that...
They're back in.
Yes, I know that. But what I'm saying is that to even have it there to begin with, to me, is very upsetting. Because I felt like it never should have come to begin with. And I think that we need to back this budgetary process up to occur at a different time of year. I think that we need to be more aggressive, as I've mentioned in the past, with funding. I also think that the last thing we should consider is reduction in force and having to come to that due to a loss of funds. Reduction in force really affects a lot of different people. It also affects a lot of different students. And I wanted to share one thing with the board, and this is a statement made by a student. People think of me as an idiot, but I don't let that drag me down. I think that I can show them that being different can be better. This is made by a special needs student. And I think of the support and the effort it's taken to get this student to the point that he can actually make that statement. And when the first thing I see for those that are RIFT happen to be all special educators, special teachers, paraprofessionals, I took a look at my own student service page and I determined that he spends 16% of his time with the specialists. He spends 65% of the time with his paraprofessional. He spends 20% of his time with his regular teachers. So if we're looking to do a reduction in force, rest assured, I will be here to say, okay, if we're not going to provide it by this means of having staff to provide the services, how are you going to fund it? How are you going to fund his needs? And if you continuously come and just keep saying, you can't neglect this. You cannot cut funds in this area. You cannot cut staff. We don't have enough to go around as it is. And we have to make sure that we provide these services and these supports to these students, as well as all of the students. Making class sizes bigger doesn't solve anything. You know, adding an addition would be great. However, is that part of the immediate need? I'm not the one that's supposed to be making that decision. It's supposed to be you. But I really want you to consider the next time I watch this process, we have to rethink it. We can't be picking numbers and saying, gee, I guess I don't think the community is going to accept this percentage. Let's try a different number. We need to look at data. We need to collect facts, do surveys, find out from the community, which is what you are doing coming up soon by having an open forum and informational meeting. And again, I'm just going to stress that we can't keep doing this. This is really not effective. It doesn't it doesn't meet the needs of the students. It does not provide us with a quality education if we're struggling year after year after year just to meet the basic necessities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Okay, seeing none.
Do you want me to go to this? Sure. First of all, I'd like to point a clarification on the motion that will be taken by the BSD board members about a reduction in force. We are bound by the collective bargaining agreements for support staff and teachers in giving notice of potential reductions in force. And without a budget passed here, we have to give that notice for teachers by May 15th. So it is a reduction in force notice. They're on a recall list, and our hope is, and all of us are ready and prepared to put our full effort into the information sessions to advise voters on the vote, as it will hopefully be set tonight. We expect it to be set, a voting date, by the board members. So I just wanted that point of clarification. I appreciate all of the comments on behalf of our students. And I would just like to make a general statement at first regarding the educational opportunities in our care of students. All of us care about our students. The board members here, our faculty, our staff, our administrators, all of the parents and community members, we care very much about our students, and we care about their success. There was certainly evidence of that at the last BSD board meeting as you worked through your budget to ensure that very valuable programming for all of our students, from the Compass Learning Odyssey program to specialized programs for our increasing population of students with complex needs. And we saw that commitment. We saw that discussion and commitment to retaining funding for all of our students in that budget work session at the last meeting. As a supervisory union, we continue to take strong action in finding answers to our questions, examining programs to make sure they are effective in meeting every child's needs, and offering staff members the guidance of experienced professionals to consult and train everyone involved in providing specialized programs for students as well as programs for all of our students. We have been and are committed to public discussion of community-wide educational needs, including ongoing building of services, professional development opportunities, and programs for students that can support this success, the success we just saw this evening in our presentation. Success for all students throughout the supervisory union and within the Bennington School District. I also would like to make a statement in response to the Channel 6 news broadcast that was given last night. Some of you may have had the opportunity to see it, others may not have. It was specific about a student matter in the Bennington School District. And from the beginning of this and related news items, the supervisory union and the Bennington School District have explained to the media that student confidentiality laws preclude it from disclosing or discussing matters involving any individual student. We abide by those laws. Simply put, parents have the right to make public disclosures concerning their children. School districts do not. As educators, we agree with that public policy consideration on which these laws are based, that it is not appropriate for a school district to engage in a public discussion or debate about any individual student. This means that even where we disagree with representations or conclusions of the media or the agency of education that concern any specific child, we cannot present our view of the student's specific issues. But this causes us to be appearing as if we're unresponsive. We do care about the success of all children. And I just wanted to make sure that that was noted. We do care. We care about the success of our students, and we've seen that work with our BSD board in their budget deliberations, and we'll continue to see that this evening. And I thank all of you as you continue those deliberations, and thank all of you for support of our students. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is a presentation, technology, equipment, inventory, and use. Mr. Barnes.
Everybody, I'm going to pass this out. when I was asked to put this together, I wasn't given much clarification as to exactly what it was you were looking for, but I think this will suffice. And feel free to, ask any questions. I'll go over this with you. The first 2 pages is sort of a summary of what we have, what's in place, issues that we may have with what's in place, and then the rest of the pages are a more comprehensive list that you can, if you wanted to take home or during this discussion have questions about, that would be fine. So, essentially, I was asked to get an inventory together for the technology and use in the BSD. I broke this down into easily, you can see the categories: desktop computers, which in the total BSD, we have 108 desktop computers. Then I broke it out by buildings. But I noted, for example, if you look at the very first one, Monument has 10 tower monitors, 10 desktop computers, basically. They were purchased in 2005, 2006, so essentially they're a couple years past their expected live date. 8 have outdated processors and insufficient operating systems for SBAC testing that's going to be coming our way. And all of them will not work with all the current printers if the software is updated. This is a conundrum that we have through the whole list. But I'll get to that after. I'll go through the list first. So it's broken out by building. Laptops and netbooks, we have 299 total in all 3 buildings. Again, broken out by building and subcategorized by whether it's a laptop or a netbook. I did that because essentially a netbook is a laptop. It's just smaller with a smaller form factor. If you flip to the second page, yeah, and I'm sorry I forgot to put the totals on yours. That's why I'm giving them to you now in case you wanted to jot down the totals. Under miscellaneous, started off with smart boards, and the total for that is we have 47 smart boards, 9 in Monument, 17 in Bennington, and 21 in Molly. 53 projectors, 13 in Monument, 18 in Ben L, and 22 in Molly. We have 18 document cameras. If you're not familiar with what those are projectors. So it's the modern version of an overhead projector, but it's a lot more robust and does a lot more nice. You can do a lot more nice things with it. We have 69 printers, and that will come up again in a little bit later on in the discussion. The printers, there are 12 in, in Monument, 28 in Bennington, in Ben L, and 29 in Molly. And then we have 13 digital cameras in each building for a total of 39. Okay? So that's essentially, and then we have servers. Okay, we have one server, one NextLeak server that was purchased in 2005 at Monument. We have 2 servers at Ben L. One was in 2009, the other in 2004 was when it was purchased. And the dates are important. And in Molly Stark, we have 2, one purchased in 2005 and one purchased in 2009. Okay? To go back to the issue I brought up earlier about the conundrum we're going to have. The operating system, all of the operating systems in almost like 99% of the computers and laptops and netbooks in the BSD are running Windows XP. Some of them in the netbooks are running Windows XP Home. These are big issues for 2 reasons. First, any XP computer, the second year out of the SBAC testing, Microsoft is not going to support those operating systems anymore. So they're going to become obsolete as far as taking the SBAC tests. The SBAC tests have to be taken on computers. Almost every single one of your computer will not be able to function in that way when they roll that over, the second year of SBAC. The other thing is, I know that there's a push on with networking the copy machines so that everybody can print to the copy machines and phasing out the printers, which is a good thing because there are 69, I think, or 69 printers that you won't be able to print from if you upgrade the software so that you can take the SBAC test. Okay, so there's a catch-22. You can either, I don't know, do whatever you're going to do to deal with the SBAC test and be able to print, or upgrade the system, which is really what needs to happen. And it gives you more of a reason to phase out the printing in individual rooms and go to the copy network printing. Any questions so far? Yes.
What is your current replacement plan? What has it been?
The replacement plan was, maybe Marcia, I brought a couple people with me. Marcia's the Senior Systems Administrator for the BSD, and Sally Bisacchio is the Tech Integration Specialist for the BSD. And the integration plan predates me in this position. So I'm not sure what it is. Maybe Marcia does, and if she doesn't, maybe Rick does. I'm not sure. No? Okay, I'm raising eyebrows all over maybe Jackie Prue. Ken? George, anybody?
How long have you been in the position?
I've been in the position for a year and a half. Typically.
Yeah, Marcia can.
Okay, that's what I was about to say. Typically, we would want to replace things every 3 or 4 years. You get a little bit more life out of the desktops than you would out of the laptops. But generally, the plan now going forward would be 3 to 4 years. Yes, Ken?
Will those tablets, 150, 175 tablets we're going to buy for the next year, will they be able to support the testing?
Yes. Yes.
Will that cover the full need that we need for all of the testing? Or not?
No.
When does that testing start?
The testing
15.
starts next year.
Spring of 15, I think.
You need to prepare for it.
Next year, current fiscal year that we're talking about?
Currently
No,
taking
a year
pilot
out from
tests now
now.
and the next year, preparing.
We'll be piloting, right, we'll be piloting, we started piloting already, we'll be piloting again 13, 14, and then the tests start in the fall.
Spring.
I was
Spring.
actually at the
2015.
Bennington Elementary School today visiting classrooms, and I actually saw a pilot of the test questions on computers.
The pilot is just something that the students actually takes it, or are you guys just evaluating it, or?
The testing.
Students get to engage in it.
Yeah, they engage in the actual test question, which actually has some video clips in it and some illustrations, and we're doing this for the state of Vermont to give
So-
them feedback.
So we have a fiscal 14 budget that we're sitting here. Are we going to be able to, is this budget, what's in front of us, going to cover with what we put into the budget? Testing
No.
for just 14 to evaluate?
No, but we're at a point where we really need to start thinking a year or two ahead. We
Right.
can limp through, we'll limp through next year, we'll be, okay, unless somebody drops a bucket of money in our lap. We'll limp through next year. But seriously, I mean, with all the concern that everyone is having about the raise in this year's budget, and we've barely touched technology in this year's budget.
Right, and to recap what my statement, and you can, you gotta acknowledge it, I mean, we're, at a minimum, we're looking at a 7% increase next year as it is, just because of the way funding's going away. If we were to try to fund everything evenly as it is now.
Right. That's also an issue that has affected the technology department. Last year, we lost Title II-D funds. So that was a big influx of money for technology equipment that we no longer have. And I don't know if anything is going to come along to replace that. Yes, Jackie?
Do we get E-rate anymore?
We get
Yes.
E-rate, that's on telecommunications services or, over the...
I know, but I can remember when your predecessor used to use that to purchase equipment.
To purchase equipment.
Yeah, computers.
I think that, well, the base of the E-rate had to be for telecommunications. And then if there was, I'm not sure if he actually used that money.
He came to the SVSU.
I thought so. That's why it's on your bill when you get your cable TV and stuff.
Yeah.
What you're probably thinking of, Jackie, is that Marcia is alluding to it, is it is a rebate that reduces our telecommunication costs, our telephone, our internet. Seems like there's something else, but maybe some software, security software. And in the past, what's happened is we would receive a larger rebate than anticipated, resulting in a sizable fund balance in the telecommunication line, which would be used to buy software. That's strictly at the SU, or hardware. That's at the SU level.
Well, I remember the discussions at the SBU.
As all these budgets have gotten tighter, all that stuff is, you know, is whittled down tighter and tighter and tighter, and you know, there's less of those opportunities.
Are there any grants out there?
I hope so. I haven't seen anything specific. I mean, I know
Send
that.
something to Bill Gates, will you?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's promised so many millions of dollars to help education and improve education. You know.
Well, I'd love to talk to Bill Gates. The Tarrant Fund in Vermont is another. It's an organization that may be somebody certainly somebody we should at least talk to, and the Rowland Foundation. But that would have to link up with individual schools, and a teacher would have to have a plan to put in place. It's a you know, there is money available. Haven't had an opportunity to chase it down yet. That becomes higher on my priority list pretty much immediately. Did you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say the testing, I believe, starts in spring of 15.
Yep.
So I think you did mention that.
Yep.
But this testing requirement of having computer access is a concern throughout the state of Vermont. We're not alone, and that's been expressed very specifically at the State Board of Education level and in the legislature. The fact that many, many districts do not have the capacity for this test on the computers, and I don't know if that's going to raise the level of awareness to help where grants would be forthcoming from different areas, or whether there would be modifications or whatever. But this is something that's been publicized with concern for the last couple of years. It's not new, but it's rising in its visibility.
You said those tablets will be okay for the testing.
Yes.
So that's all 3, 4, and 5. Third graders, fourth, fifth graders are going to get those? No?
Well,
So
it's
it's 170 tablets we got.
Yeah, it's only
units.
70.
No.
How many
And-
students?
I don't know. I don't have it in front of me.
Are kindergartners involved in this testing program?
800
No.
students, 170 tablets will work.
3, 4, and 5.
Or just 3, 4, 5?
And again, we're in the pilot phase now, so we're discovering what does work and what doesn't.
Right.
Part of the issues that get raised, though, is several times already, Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, that's SBAC, that is creating the test, have changed the parameters of what we need to deal with. I think we've pretty much settled. They are working actually towards trying to make more things available, as far as, for example, Google Chromebooks in the past weren't going to be a device that people could take the tests on, but now they are a device that people can take the tests on. But Microsoft is not going to support the Windows XP, so that's a sort of a sideways thing that's affecting us. And we have a couple of years. It's going to, the machines we have now that are running Windows XP will be fine for the first year of testing, but there's no guarantee after that.
Right, so I mean,
So we got a couple of years, but we need to really plan. Yeah, another question?
so I'm thinking this tells me the answer, but just to get it out there. So when I go through the schools, when I'm with my son, or I run into a parent, whatever, or I talk to a teacher, whatever, and they're talking about the issues they have with connectivity within the buildings, and is it because of the hardware issue? Or is
Yes.
That's
a
what
great
it tells
question.
me here, but I don't know. Is that, I mean, you hear the horror stories, it takes so long to try to connect, and then you get connected, and then you drop, and then you have teachers using their computer because it's a little bit better than one that,
Yep.
is that?
That's definitely, I'm glad you asked that question. The shortest-ish version, and maybe Marcia or Sally will add to this, but essentially we have a wireless network that was put in place in 2011. It's pretty current. Everything was pretty current. Some of the hardware, the radios and the processors don't like to deal with the new stuff. And so it just doesn't work well with it. It's kind of like putting a carburetor from a 70 Toyota into a 95 Honda. You can make it work maybe, but it's not going to work well. It's especially a problem losing connectivity with the netbooks that are using, all of the netbooks actually in all of the buildings are running Windows XP home version, so we can't even manage it on the network. It's really, really low end, and it just doesn't want to play nice. So that's one of the things. It takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes for some of these machines to boot up, then they'll come back off, and it really is, they're showing their age and their low capacity. Yes, Jackie?
Are we having this problem in other districts, or is it only in Bennington?
No, we're having it everywhere. You folks are, well, probably, I don't know, Windows XP, there are more, go ahead.
It's a little different in Powell, where they're running XP Pro. Here in Bennington, for all of their netbooks, is XP Home. Shaftesbury is running Ubuntu on their netbooks, so they aren't having a whole lot of trouble at all. The netbooks we paid under $330 for each one, and now they're 3 years old. They're older than the technology that we're in the fourth year. They're in their fourth year, I'm sorry. And the technology that was then is not the technology that is now with all this new wireless equipment that we put in.
Can you reprogram them?
We've tried, yes, we have tried. It's quite a process to try to upgrade them to Windows 7 because these are base machines. They could easily be repurposed for the younger children and have their learning programs on text math and all the programs that don't require immediate internet access, but they will always have connectivity. We've had experts come in and try to connect them, and they will stay on for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can watch and all drop off.
The new Kono tabs, or whatever they are, are they going to have, what kind of program are they going to have?
They run entirely on the cloud, so we haven't purchased any of them.
Don't even try to explain it.
They're all running on the internet. They don't have the operating system is not on the device. It just gets a signal to the internet, and everything's taken care of out there. Yes?
Go ahead, Paul, first.
With that, talking about the internet and getting out of the building, I haven't asked this, but this is a good time to, are all of our schools within the supervisors, and I would assume, got onto that grant and the telecommunication grant that's going through with SovereignNet and putting in new fiber to all of our buildings and all that stuff? Or maybe we've already got the upgraded fiber, I'm not sure, but SovereignNet's going through the entire state right now, and you had to sign up to get into that.
We're in a contract right now with Fairpoint, and we can't just drop the contract with Fairpoint. However, we are tripling the capacity through Fairpoint. It wasn't very expensive. That was in the SVSU budget to add that on, and it does affect all the schools in the SVSU. So when the contract comes up...
So that's good. You have a good pipe going out of the buildings, so that you don't have to worry about bandwidths and capacities on there, so that you get all 800 students to log on or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes. A whole lot of things affect this. The more that people bring their own devices to the building, or just the more that we add devices that are wireless, the more bandwidth it wants to use. Plus, if, for example, what they're getting from using the bandwidth, if there's a lot of streaming video, for example, then it's even, it's taken up even a lot more. And if Mrs. Jones and Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Case all decide at the same time that they want to get on at the same time, I mean, these are things that can kind of clog things up. But we're tripling capacity, and so I know...
What are you going to?
300.
What is it going to become? Give me a
300 megabit.
What is it?
300.
300 megabit?
And
the reason why we went to Fairpoint is because SovereignNet wasn't ready to offer what you were talking about.
Right, I think we're...
How long ago was that?
I think I was on the SVSU, so
3 years ago?
First year I was on.
2 or 3, yeah.
I think we're in the last year of the contract now, so we could consider that next time. And yeah, the state is pushing it through ENA, and I'll certainly look hard at that when, you know, when the contract's up.
Ken? I'd like to come full circle, Frank, back to a question that Paul had asked originally, at the beginning of your presentation about replacement cycles. I think it's important to know that you have reconvened the SVSU-wide Technology Committee. This is a committee that has representation, and you have board representation on that for the whole supervisory union. And this is the group that will look at replacement cycles as they come forward through all of the school districts in their individual technology plans. It's a place where we can merge all of those for a view of the SVSU as a whole and really get that basis for cooperative purchasing and all of that. So although there wasn't a specific answer about replacement cycles beyond what we've already budgeted for next year for BSD, that is the group that will work with Frank to pull all of that together. That's our expectation. It's also the expectation of the state. We have to submit our plan to the Agency of Education periodically. I think it's every 3 years, isn't it? But ours was a 5-year, and we're now revising it.
It's due this June.
This July. Okay.
So-
Since I'm on that committee, can somebody tell me when that meeting is?
You're on, excuse me, you're on the committee?
The technology committee?
Yeah. Mary Lee, I'll check. It should have been on the list. The name should be on the list.
I did not have your name, Jackie.
Yeah. Make sure that it's there, Jackie. I think Claude was on it before? Yes. Yeah, it may not have gotten changed, so I'll make sure. I'm sorry, Jackie, I apologize.
Well,
for
and
that.
not to confuse things, but let me back up just a second on the committee. There had been a committee that had been meeting, is the Technology Plan Committee, that had been advising me as to how to put the plan together, going over, you know, what the state required and the ESD requirements, the federal standards, basically. Claude was on that committee,
Right.
a number, Leon was on the committee, Sean Marie was on the committee, but no one from the board showed up, I think, except maybe Claude.
What?
But that was but now there's a standing committee that met for the first time yesterday. So, and if you weren't on my list, I'll get you on my list.
Yeah, I'm writing it here to make
Okay.
sure it gets on the communication list.
Yes.
So in two years out, we're going to be doing this testing. We've got to do some serious upgrading of our system in order to test even, but yet alone just to function, so that teachers have the resources, the students are getting exposed to the technology that they need to use, that they use at their home, but they can use it in public school. What are the astronomical numbers that we're talking about? Because I'm guessing that this isn't going to be an easily swallowed pill.
It's not going to be an easily swallowed pill. I do not have numbers, but I can give you, you know, examples of, you know, essentially, Paul, it's more complicated than that. Essentially, if we were just going to replace all the laptops right now, we'd be spending about $550, $600 per laptop. We'd get 3 or 4 years out of it. So if we were doing what we're doing, that's what it would be. So multiply that times, you know, 400 and something, and that just replaces what we have. It doesn't allow for any expansion. But there are a lot of other options.
What was it? How many laptops do we have? 4, would you say?
We have 299 laptops, and we have 108 desktops. Oh, I'm sorry, your laptops and netbooks, and 108 desktops. So if we were to replace all the computers, desktops would be probably another $200 or so. So like 800 for a decent desktop if we wanted to. So as we're looking at trying to have more students have an ongoing hands-on relationship with a mobile device, or with a device they can produce on, as well as receive information and create information. This is also part of the Common Core standards, is that students are going to be required to produce stuff and publish stuff. Then we're looking at a smaller form factor. We're not looking at very many desktop computers. We're looking at things you can carry around, and tablets. And oh, by the way, in case you're not familiar, and I know I've mentioned it a few times, but I don't know if I mentioned it at this meeting, at this committee, at this board, sorry. 2017, 16, 17, the SBAC tests are going to require that students do 25% of the math exam on a tablet. They need to use a stylus and write in, you know, their stuff. So that's another thing that a laptop won't do. So tablets are going to have to be part of the equation as well. It's like the Kunos that you guys have already purchased. And
So those first rough numbers, there's $220,000 at 550 times 400.
And that doesn't count servers that need to be upgraded, because they're also in a position where they've definitely outlived their usefulness. Licenses, other software that might be coming down that we need to get. I'm sure there are other things.
And what options are you going to look at in regards to these? What are just a few of the options? I mean, it doesn't have to be new, right? It's not necessarily, there's a lot of recyclers out there now.
There are a lot of recyclers, but I fear we'd be getting into a situation where we'd be, you know, you buy something used and you really kind of want to get rid of it even sooner than you would have.
We're getting a life of what, 2 to 3 years out of them now?
But well, we're getting like 3 or 4. There are leasing options, for example. There are a lot of different licensing options. There's the device itself option, but some of this, honestly, and this is something as my teacher hat on, that we need to look seriously at, is how teachers are going to be using the tools in the classroom as part of their instruction and not an add-on, not like we're going to go learn how to keyboard, we're going to go learn how to use this piece of software, we're going to go learn this kind of thing. There's so much that needs to happen within how the teaching is structured that would also influence what direction we'd want to go. An example would be, Marcia, don't hit me, Google Chromebooks cost a heck of a lot less than any laptop you get. You're talking $250, $300. The operating system is in the cloud, Jackie. It's in the cloud. So it's constantly updated in the cloud. Google is constantly updating their Chrome software. So we never fix anything. It's just, and you open it up and it turns on. It's on. It's just
like
going.
Your Apple iPad.
What's that?
It's like an iPad.
No, it's nothing like an iPad.
Okay.
That's okay. But that's another option. But what it requires is that, you know, students wouldn't be using Microsoft Word or Office, and there's certain programs that you can't use on it. Last I knew, you couldn't use Compass Learning on it very well, which is a software that we use. So a whole shift would have to take place that affects curriculum, teaching practice, professional development, and everything else in order to take advantage of that particular system. An iPad, Jackie, beautiful machines. They're really easy to manipulate. They work well for the most part. They're really hard to manage in an enterprise system. They're a consumer device. It's really made for people who want to buy one and use it, and or businesses that don't have the security issues that we have with SIPA compliance and FERPA compliance. It can be worked with, but it's always tricky, and they're not especially inexpensive. Well, and definitely not inexpensive, but the other things that go along with those, any device we get, is, are the kids taking them home? Are the kids leaving them in the classroom? Are some of the kids taking them home? Are they going to be who's charging them up? Who's going to make sure that they get charged up? Just other little issues. Am I answering your question, Kelly? Do you want more examples of?
No, I think, I think we need to get something down in writing of, some different directions and look at some pricing, because to get some idea. I mean, I don't think we can. I know you said it needs to tie to the curriculum, but at this point, I'm not sure we've got that amount of time. The way the wheel turns with the school system, you could start now, and if you're going to redevelop curriculum and all this to buy computers, I think we've got to get something. You mentioned the Google Chrome and the cloud. I think you need to get some stuff together that we can look at and say, okay, what avenue do we want to pursue? and get it more streamlined. You know, is it Apple or is it going to be a computer? Is it going to be the Google machine, whatever it may be, and look at some options. You know, our recyclers, do the recyclers have any warranties? I mean, I do a lot of shipping for recyclers, and there's a lot of stuff out there with warranties.
There are some reputable
my point being is I think we've got such a vast deficiency in our computer system that we've got to start someplace and figure out which direction we want to start going in, instead of just talking in general about this and that and everything else.
What can I bring to you that would make things?
Well,
I mean, I could certainly give you price lists of things. I could list out every option that I'm aware of, and there are many.
I think it needs to be more like a tier one. Here's what we need to do for tier one. Here's our first means. We've got to get rid of X number of computers because they're the oldest, and we need to have something up and running. So here's tier one. Here's the first wave of what we need to do.
That's the work of the committee.
Here's the second wave of what we need to do. And you know, and with a recommendation or some suggestions from you in regards to, you know, a direction that we may want to start going to look at these.
Well, I'll have the tech plan will be finished in next month. And I'll get a copy of that to all the board members, you know, all the board members. Also, I'll offer an invitation here. Friday, I'm going to Montpelier because I had been working on with Maine and Montana and Hawaii and Vermont has a consortium, if you can imagine that, of one-to-one devices that they're trying to bring into the state. Maine's had a one-to-one scenario using Apple for 10 years, and they just switched to HP. But the three companies, 2 devices from HP, 2 devices from Apple, and 1 device from a company called, it's a company I'd never heard of before, and I don't recall the name. At any rate, they're going to be presenting these on Friday in Montpelier. If anybody wants to get up and leave at 6 with me, I'd be glad to, you know, take you along. Just send me an email, let me know. I'll pick you up. We'll go in the car and go see the presentation, and you might, you know, you can find out some stuff there. Also, I mean, another place that I would suggest, if you, excuse me, if you typed in the URL address bar there on your computer, bit.ly/thinkvt. It's an online publication that I put out every day that links to, it's curated articles about everything that's going on in education and technology. And some local stuff in Vermont and, you know.
Could you repeat that again?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, bit.ly, L-Y, Think VT, Think Vermont. Think
Spell
VT.
it out for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put it up on the board,
Yeah.
please.
sorry.
We need a visual.
Oh,
Forward slash.
I would,
Just like that. Just type in the URL and it'll take you to that thing that I curate, and there's way more information you ever want to read. Scan it, see what catches your eye. You'll see headlines like, you know, such and such a district deploys 20,000 iPads, you know, whatever. Or what's the best way to teach X? Other questions. Way over my time here, but I'll be glad to.
I have
One more. Go ahead, Jackie.
I think that we have to decide the curriculum before we decide the computer. Because when you decide a different computer and then we're already using, and then we have to change the curriculum, which increases the cost of everything, because you're going to need all this new stuff. Plus, you're going to need all this training for your staff. So you need to know which
Sounds like
way
you're gonna
you're
have fun on the committee.
Huh?
Sounds like
Well,
you're gonna
there's
have fun on the
curriculum, there are curricular committees as well that work, and Frank has been working very closely with the curriculum director and the assistant superintendent to make sure the communication is circular, that it's connected.
Something to keep in mind, pardon me, Not so much rebuilding the curriculum or anything like that, but how we can replace textbooks with the information that we can get on the devices. That's one area where we're going to save money. But it's going to take a big push. Not having to print out. You know, if teachers were trained in how to share information on the device instead of always having to have it handed in. And not that that's perfect for every situation, but I mean, there are many situations that it's good for. The more that they're able to do that, then the fewer textbooks we need to buy that are outdated as soon as you get them on the shelf.
And you have a couple of pilots at the high school for paperless classrooms.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is a task list status.
We have the tech presentation scheduled for today. Board members had asked for a full list of all the board members' contact information. You'll get that by email, hopefully tomorrow. And the Code of Ethics was on as well, but that has been deferred to the board chairs for some work because we have this rewrite that came out of Pownell, and there hasn't really been a decision about whether there's a rewrite to it or whether people will go with the original. So the board chairs are going to be working on that, and we'll come back to you. So we'll end up tabling that this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, now, financial reports. Treasury report, supposed to be sent to you electronically if you have questions. She was here, she told me, as a parent.
It's okay.
All right.
No questions.
Okay, we also have the budget status report from Rick.
You need to move to accept the treasurer's report if you don't have
I
any.
move to accept the treasurer's report.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion? No?
Thank you.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Rick's budget status report is enclosed if you have any questions. Okay, now, budget work session for proposed fiscal year 14 budget. Now, again, someone had asked George about, is it done or whatever, and the answer is no. Everybody is open to any type of questions you have of anybody here. Or if you want to know why things went up, went down, whatever, now's the time to speak. Or if you question anything.
Yeah, I did go through, again, the budget, and I do have notes, and some of them are kind of the same concept behind them, but, so some of my questions, I'll just go through them, and if that's
Yeah,
as far as
go
what
ahead.
I've got, the ones, and great discussion, some may overlap, but, I'm curious in one of the sections there for contracted services for the board ed. It was budgeted 1,013, budgeted 1,000 this year. What is that? Do we need that for next year? What is it that we're buying for those contracted services under certain board ed? Is that actually ours?
The only thing that was there was the architect fees that got taken out. I don't see anything.
This is contract services board ed.
What line?
Fourth one in the second section. First page, second section.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. You got two of them. That is largely for your annual reports, your annual meetings, if we have to do something with printing documents or contract something out to run the meeting or something. There's nothing specific that's there, but I can find out what's hit there. $1,000 you're talking, right?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these numbers are gonna be the 1,000, 2,000, there's a couple of big ones. I guess, as I go through this, I looked at contracted services, and wanna know what those, I know that we discussed some of those things last week, the things that were highlighted from the principals, but I'd like to know what's left in there, specifically in some of these sections, to know exactly what we're buying, and then to ask the question if those are needed for there. Have the same kind of questions with regards to dues and fees in all of the various areas through here. Same thing, like in that same section, dues and fees for the board ad.
That's your School Boards Association dues.
Is that the number that it is?
Yeah, it's.
Is there any other extras in there?
It's pretty darn close, but.
It's based on your students' population.
So that's something they,
You have X amount of kids, that's how much your dues are.
This year you paid $24.72. So someone could argue that I don't have enough in there.
yeah. And the other one in that section that I had was liability insurance.
Yep.
Why did that jump so much this year?
Well, because your current contract ends on June 30th, so it's an unknown number for next year. It's currently out to bid.
When does that come back, do you know?
It's due back middle of May. I think it's the 14th it's due back. Hopefully we'll have enough of a response to take it to the SU board. I guess the meeting got changed to the 29th, so that's the goal for that meeting.
So this is an SU item that's,
Well,
was there our portion of it?
Well, it's one of those examples where we pool the bid together to get the best possible price, but it is they give us, I mean, BSD has its own number. It's not a shared assessment number. It's a pooled bid for all the districts, and BSD will come back with a hard number.
So, because I look back through, I pulled the old annual report, did comparisons, look back. You know, we had 3253, 2957, 3498, 3834. And then back in 08, it was higher. It was 4782. I mean, I know you're not talking much, a few hundreds or what have you. So, I mean, is there a risk there that we would want to take to say that could be? I mean, it's 26.9% increase. I mean, I don't know if you've talked to other districts and you kind of have an idea or anything like that, but I'm just wondering does it have to be that much? And as we go through here, you know, it may be only a few hundred here or there to start with, but I'm just wondering what these may add up to if we look at all these items.
It's an unknown expense next year. It's the board's prerogative. I mean, 27%, you're talking $877.
But I think it's, and I realize that 877 in the scheme of whatever the millions are. But if people don't want us to talk about special education, talk about music, art, and all those other programs, and know that we have technology issues that, you know, that can hit us at a better time to know that that's the issue we have, plus knowing that the funding is going to be lost even more so next year. My efforts is just to ask questions on each of these and
That's fine.
start to whittle it down.
I know, you throw 27% out on the table, you got to throw the
right. It is. Well, that's why I said it was only.
I mean, it's not 27% of $10 million. It's 27% of 4,000.
Correct.
So it's not.
Correct.
You know, there's a perspective that just needs to be understood.
Absolutely, and absolutely, and just make sure we put both of those out so people know what we are talking. I mean, so I guess I just raised that question to the board on that item. I mean, if there's any opinions on that or what people think about that.
I haven't seen anything go down.
And I'm not saying that it wouldn't go down, but I'm just looking at historically, you're 3,200 the last 2 years, 3,000 the year before, 34 the year before that. You know, we're at this number that we're talking about was 4129. You know, it's $1,000 over the last year's 877. But.
I just think you can't make a budget that tight.
Yeah, but there's enough other stuff in there where you can make up $800 if we're over $800. I'm with you. I mean, I think this $800 here and $1,000 here could add up at the end of the budget line item of 10 grand, 15 grand. And, you know, I think that there's things in here, like I say, that I agree with you. Granted, each line item might be small, but at the end, I think it could be adding up to something. So if you're looking for a motion or whatever, I mean, I just assume level funded from last year.
Right. I mean, that's the type of questions that we've got to ask ourselves.
I mean, I am saying that. I mean,
And if we go through these, you're gonna find there's a lot of them in there that I'm gonna have questions about. I got about 30 different ones that I go through here and I look at that, you know, that I look back over history and I just wondering if we need to do that. Some places where we've added in programs, this year that we didn't have in the last couple of years. Places where we put, you know, a couple $1,000s in light items that we didn't have in the last 2 years, and now we're putting it in this year. So my questions will be, why are we pulling the trigger to put them in this year? So I'm not here to waste the board's time, but that is what I'm looking to go through on this thing.
Well, what's the board's, if you want to bring one up, one at a time, get an explanation from Rick, and then you can vote. I mean, whatever your prerogative is. Was that the way you'd like to do it?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm going with it, is to whittle this down some more. You know, we've got to put it
Okay.
out there, and I know that, you know,
Okay, fair enough. We heard the explanation of the liability insurance last year, 3253. Rick is projecting a slight increase up 877 to 4129. Okay? How many would be in favor of cutting it? 2?
What I would suggest we do is let's have Paul pull that over to one side.
We might as well go through them over there.
And then,
We don't have to go
and then
back
let's
and-
just see where we are, though, instead of taking, I think we can go faster that way. We'll take that one, put it to the side,
Okay.
instead of voting on each one,
All
then
right.
let's see where we're at.
Okay,
Does that sound
877.7.
all right?
Okay,
Okay.
next one, Paul.
the assessment, the fiscal assessment that we have went up, it's 22,720, 54%. What is that, when you look, what is that assessment?
That's the assessment from my office to do all your finances.
Okay. Make sure I get my numbers straight here.
How come it went up? That much?
Largely because this year, we had a large fund balance that offset your assessment.
Huh?
The finance office generated a fund balance that offset your assessment for FY13. So FY14, you're no longer going to have that fund balance. So you got to pay a true assessment opposed to a subsidized assessment you're paying this year.
So this is talking about that we talked about in the last meeting, the fund balance that gets generated, that you get the benefit of 2 years out.
Right. Okay, we understand that.
So those are
one.
real, that's just a real cost. That's the actual cost out of your office.
That's an issue assessment. Yeah, it's coming out of my office.
What's that based on? Where does that figure come from?
Just based on my total cost, assessed out based on equalized pupils, your proportionality to the other districts.
So it's really not something that we can
No.
touch then, right?
Okay.
Is that the right unit of measure for your office?
That's what the state tells me to measure it. Unless the SU board wants to agree to something different, state statute is based on student population.
Because yours is actually a relatively fixed cost. It's not based on the number of students we have. Let's go on.
But it's a statute, right?
It's based on statute unless SU agrees to something different. Or based on student population unless the SU agrees to something different.
Okay, Paul.
Okay. Under, I'm not sure what this is, another contracted services under the building director section, I guess, maintenance equipment, things like that.
Yep.
It's a $16,000. It's a level funded. There's no increase from 13 to 14. Curious as what these services are, and you know, what are they? Do we need them? And what are we buying there? And is it, the other question is for some of the-
16,000?
It's 16,000.
Okay.
It's level fund. It's a level fund from
All right.
13 to 14. But I'm just asking about the services that it is, and one of the questions about these contract services that you're going to find, especially when we get into on the custodial line item, is do we think that it's appropriate that we go back to our vendors and our contractors and ask them if there's anything that they can do better on this for this next fiscal year, even though it's a contracted agreement, if there is any room for them to do something for us in light of a failed budget? So that's kind of where this is
I
started
think
with
the
this one.
16,000, I think that might be for our heating contract that we do. Not 100% sure. But I think
Let's see if I can get into the detail here.
It was, if you go back through, again, looking at the previous, last year it was the 16, year before it was 2, year before that was 13, 862, 800, 0, and 4, 37. I'm not sure where we're at here right now. So that's why I'm curious as to what those are, that round number. And it looks like actuals for 12 were 15,951.
Well, if they were 15.9 and they're asking for 16 this year,
Yeah, it was 15.9 for 12, and 13 we had 16. I don't know where it's currently running, and then they've asked for 16 again, but I'm just curious what that service is. What's in them contracted services? Is it just one entity, or is it several entities of contract that, I'm just curious what's left in them.
Currently in there, $7,700 spent year to date, roughly. And why isn't it popping up here?
Because it looks like something changed from 12 to 13. And in the 12, it was at the, it was budgeted in 12 for 2, and it ended up at 15, whatever that number was I gave you. And then this year they're budgeted at 16. In 11 it was 13, but it did a large increase in fiscal 10 to fiscal 11 from 800 to 14,000 in actual cost. So some of my questions is what are the services we're buying, and do we still need to keep them in that way where we may have evidence of doing it cheaper based on something? No?
No, I'm not. It's just,
I was looking at Jackie.
I'll get there in a second.
I'm just, I came here to warn a budget because I thought we were pretty set. I mean, we couldn't nickel and dime our education system. Now we're going to sit here and nickel and dime every line in this budget. I mean, so we have a few extra bucks. But I'm telling you, usually we end up spending that few extra bucks because you have pavement that has to be repaired, or we have a teacher that leaves and we have to hire somebody else and they cost more money, or we have an extra student come in that needs special needs. So this money all gets used. So I really think it's redundant to go line by line. And I think if we were going to go line by line, we should have done that 2 or 3 meetings ago.
I won't take anything away from that, but I did go through it again, and I
understand, Paul. I understand where you're coming from, but it's just
cell phones for the maintenance crews are in there. The heating contract is in there.
What is the
there's some engineering work that's in there we've done for spaces in the various buildings. Intercom project that's in there for Bennell. Jared, that's not a lot of money. That's only 30 bucks. The big ticket in there is our heating contract.
And I think we pay that twice a year.
Yeah,
I can't remember
looks like
what
it's
it
a
is.
two,
It's like
looks like
13.
this looks like a
Yeah,
$7,000.
yeah. Which, that,
What's that for?
that takes care of certain things that are under contract from our heating company, that you have a contract with, you get fixed pricing. They do certain cleanings of the boilers, they do univents, they do calibrating of your thermostats and stuff like that under the contract. And they've been really good for keeping their prices down with us when we're going out. And we go a 3-year bid with them usually.
We do.
Yeah.
When is that up, or when?
It just started, so we're in for 2 more years, I think.
Yeah, I think this is the first year.
Yeah, I think this is the first.
So that was you're coming to the end of your first year?
Yeah.
She said at a public meeting.
So, I mean, these contracted services, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, is, you know, and I think that one of them, especially when we get to custodial, you're talking $170,000, $200,000 in custodial service, that we should ask these contracts if there's any options, being that there's a budget that was shot down as an option. But, you know, they may have held their prices, and then we just went back into it.
Well, I mean, we can do anything you want us to do. That's not a problem.
Right. I mean, I'm talking to the board. I mean, I know Jackie's not interested in going through this or talking about these individuals, but, you know, if there's money to be had in there. And things that I look at here, you know, just in moving on to the next one, you know, supplies under crossing guard. I mean, it's only $200. Actually, no, I took it out. Or is it, no, that's back in because the crossing guard's back in. What is that, though?
It's for when you gotta buy signs or vets or whatever, there's something that they may need. I mean, you know, you gotta have stop signs and things for them for safety issues. You know, vests that we have even for my people, because we have to cover for them if they're out, you know.
I just wonder, I just didn't make sure that you asked questions, do we actually replace them every year? Do we have, are they real costs? And $200 you could find in something.
You want me to take 200 out?
On the side, 200.
Anybody, I mean, I'm putting on there as.
Keep track.
You're just keeping track of the ones that are,
Bring it
okay.
200 on the side.
Someone keeping a list?
I have 877 and 200, that's all I have right now, is that correct?
877,
And 200.
16,000.
I didn't think the whole 16 was what was,
Well, it was just for discussion.
yeah.
That was just a discussion.
Yeah,
mean,
I don't
there-
think you took anything
Are we
out.
cutting anything out of there?
Not
No, we're
that
not.
I heard.
We'll run a tab.
For the.
Wait, hang on.
Sorry.
Before we get too far down this list,
Sure.
on that tab, is anything coming out of the contracted services for the building? Are you taking the whole 15 or something less that's going to be put on this list, or is there nothing going on the list?
I just,
Well,
I just wanted to be sure.
I think, my question in the end will be is, do we take the time, when we go through this, and we look at the number of contracted services, and there, you know, where's my, just in contractor services, I question on this, 55,000, just over $55,000 in contractor services.
Well,
So-
I understand that, but of that 15 you
Well, I think-
question, is that a real 15, or is there $100 or $2,000 there that you question?
Well, I question ultimately, in the end, I think these services should be asked of the vendors. I mean, I don't know whether they'll give us, I mean, I'm looking to try to come up with a real savings that they'll offer to us, you know, and I know that takes some time, but I think phone calls could be made on these to see if
Are
there's
we
something
gonna
we can
ask
do.
our teachers to take a cut, not to take the raise next year?
You want to have that discussion, we can.
And the paraeducators?
We can have that discussion.
Because, you know, these people work, a lot of these people work in our communities, and, you know, their costs go up too.
I agree, but Janitronics took a 10 or 16% increase from 12 to 13. So I'm wondering if there's something that they might be interested in doing for us. Because that's more than what you or I are going to get for a raise, or anything else. So when you look at numbers like that, 10%, 16%.
That's an increase on the entire contract, not
Correct.
on individual
Right,
amounts.
it's a
Yeah, I just wanted,
contracted
for
service
people
for-
listening, I just wanted to
for
make sure
the-
they knew that.
We're under
Service.
contract with.
Correct. That's right. What I'm asking is, do we go back to them to see if, I mean, it's really just out of the kindness of their heart, if they're interested in doing it or not. is to give us a break on those fees for the next year, potentially.
Where's that 200?
That's what I'm questioning.
I don't have a problem asking.
I mean, because that, with the custodial services, 178,000, just under, or just over 178,000, 55,000 in contracted services in these other areas. Dues and fees, you got $4,000 in there for dues and fees, you know, for whether it be teachers, board members, things like that. What are we buying for
Well,
those
if
fees?
it's in the board line, it's School Boards Association and other fees.
I have the same question for the teachers. You know, are these memberships to things that, do we have to have them and carry them for the next year?
Well,
Or
actually,
whatever
the
they are?
teacher memberships are not,
Or
it's
administrator.
administrator. It's part of their contract. It's part of the individual contract.
What has caused it to be fluctuating, go up $200, $300 every time?
Well, sometimes it's done by previous history of expense. And the cost rises. For example, the Superintendent's Association put an increase in this year for next year for the first time in a couple of years. So I know that's one of them.
But are they set memberships or are they fluctuating?
They are
What's the
set,
limits?
this one's, the superintendent's is set on size of district.
So it's based on size of district, same thing. And the teachers same way?
No, principals.
I'm sorry.
No, theirs is a straight fee. That's the Principals Association, as far as I know.
But I mean, if you look from one to the other, you've got, you know, they change. I can't remember which ones they are. You know, all right, Bennell, you got a $500 fees. Some are, you know, I don't know whether it's at Monument or Molly, they're $750. I mean, they're not consistent from one to the other. So there's different things in each one. So I'm asking, you know, like I have a membership to NFPA.
Right.
Should is that something that I have to have in order for me to do my job next year? No. Could it be taken out of there and I still be as educated as I was without it? Yes. So that's the question that I'm looking to ask.
I understand exactly what you're saying. We have to remember that that's part of the benefit package that is offered through the collective bargaining agreements with the administrators or individual contracts with administrators.
So there's no fluctuation. That's part of the agreement. That's all I need to know.
Yes,
Whether if it's
exactly.
an agreement, then it's a union contract.
And there is it's by approval of the superintendent in some cases, in some it's a dollar amount.
Okay. Which one did we leave off with, Ken? I'm sorry.
You were at the crossing guard supplies.
Okay. You know, again, you got contract service in every one of these under the Bennell, the instructions area. You know, we reduced it to $7,000. I think that had something to do with the discussion that we had at the last meeting that affected some of that. It's, you know, it's down to 13.
Which one?
What's left? This is for contracts under the section of
Bennell Contract Service?
Yeah, Bennell's contracted services.
Yeah, and I actually increased that from what we talked about $1,500 for 4 wins, and I took at the chair's request, and I took the difference out of the fuel oil to make that net sum 0. But that covers, you guys talked last time what that stuff covers.
It's an important program, having parents in, helping with the instruction.
I thought that was the one. So that's that part of this part of the sped pieces then, right? Or
no.
What pieces was that part of then?
No, that would cover any specialists that we would want to come in and do training. It would cover a contract in order to have in-service activities of different sorts, and we need training. I mean, we need services of that nature.
Currently, there's some consultations on behavior plans,
that would cover under that
implementation,
category,
things
right?
like that.
So when you look at the historical again, you had 1,500, 1,200, 4,000, 1,100, nothing in 12, 20,000, and 13.
I thought you had reduced that at your last meeting.
Well, I'm sorry. We did. It was right down to 13 this
Right,
year.
which is actually not enough to do what we need to do, but it's what it is.
What are they? What are the actual agreements that you're into? What are those services that you're going to hire? Or is it just as they come up, you find something? Or
No, we had intended to have more PBIS programming support, behavior support, some professional development with technology, some supervision and evaluation, but those we'll have to forego until a later time.
we had a jump in the same thing. I mean, I guess that's the same thing. The contractor services over at here.
Molly Stark?
Yeah. We
Same thing.
Same thing. So just because we're at that section, the contract service custodial, I mean, I do put that out there as something that I think we should talk to the vendors about to see if there's something that we could do. What they'll do, I don't know.
On that price is different because I renegotiated some stuff when we went out to our new contract this past year, which was some extra areas being cleaned in the school that wasn't cleaned, some extra hours and things like that. So that's probably why that number is more than what it was. Yeah. It's because we just went out to and redid that contract last year. So
I remember
that's the
signing
increase.
it.
Yeah. So.
But I'm just wondering if there's
just
something
wanted to let you know.
You know. Something down here that got added back in that wasn't in before. Field trips and transportation. All the schools put $700 back into the budget.
That was me.
That was you.
Because for the last 3 or 4 years, around this time, I get requested to find the money to send the kids to Montpelier. And when I was putting this budget together, I heard someone talking about their Montpelier trip, and I said, you know something, I might as well budget it, because the board's gonna tell me to go find the money somewhere.
Right.
Do you want me to take it out?
You always do.
Yeah, I know I always do, but you keep doing this, and I won't be able to do it.
And I guess, I mean, and that's a reality. I understand that, but not knowing that piece at that time, whether we do or we don't build a fund balance, or that was
right. But if this, it's the board's prerogative. It's your budget. You could tell me, tell me what you want. I don't have a problem putting it on the street. But if you're confident you're going to fund that trip every year, why wouldn't you budget for it? I mean, why wouldn't you plan for it? Cut the other stuff, but leave that one in. Because if we know we're going to spend that money, why wouldn't you budget it there? But again, that's the board's prerogative. But I know for the last 3 years, this board has requested me.
Yeah, Tim says it's difficult out in the public to raise that much money to pay for all the buses for all the different schools and classes. So he raises enough, but he's been coming up short one bus for the last 2 or 3 years that he asked the BSD to pay for that.
And it's not an overnight anymore.
No, it isn't. They've cut back quite a bit. It's a day trip now.
It's a great experience for the kids, too.
I went with Woodford, it is.
But I mean, does that mean that this is not going to be fun or easy by any means? I mean, next year is going to be just as miserable. I mean, if we don't make a decision or make some, on some of these things now to determine whether we will or we won't be able to fund it, then, we are wasting time, but we've got our heads in the sand to think that this is going to go away and it's going to be a different year next year. I mean.
I was the one that said 2-3 meetings ago, put the budget out as it is again and explain it.
The unfortunate thing is people have been talking to me.
People talk to me too,
and they're
but
not
they
happy
don't
with what they already see.
understand that we're only talking $80 or $90 on $100,000 assessed value.
69.
They saw 69, whatever it was. They saw
that's what it currently
that
is,
we had.
69.
When it was 19%, they saw that we had a 19% increase. We didn't go out and say the 19% increase only means such and such. And the reason why we need this is because the increase of this, and all these expenses are going to go up every year. There's nothing that's going to go down. Your electric bill doesn't go down, and if yours does, I want to know what you're doing at your house, because I'm not even home and it's running high. I mean, my oil isn't going down, my electric's not going down, I still have to maintain my property, every year I have to buy something new or fix something, get something done. My food costs aren't going down. None of this stuff is going down. So, I think if we did an explanation of why we had to do the increases we did, and we agreed at the last meeting, we were only going to go 14.1. 14.1. Tell me.
No, he's got it down to 13.9.
13.9 because of the SVSU meeting. 13.9, and that was going to mean $62 on a 100,000 excess value, And we all agreed at the last meeting, every single one of us, the same 6 people, agreed that that's what we were going forward. And I don't know, I don't want to spend another 2 hours doing this.
Well, I agreed that we go to the SU.
We asked for 400,000 in cuts.
Open that assessment up and bring it back to see what
And
it
they
was.
only gave
There
us
was never a
75.
vote or a decision to say that this was going to be a closed case at the next meeting. So I'm sorry if I'm consuming your time with my questions, but I'm going to ask them, because the people that are watching me or that run into me, they're going to want to know that I definitely asked this question. Same thing for the other after-school program. We've added this in, we've never had it, the Girls on the Run. Now, I understand the concept, I looked it up, but we started this program here now.
Well,
And we want to.
that's a grant shift.
That's, yeah.
That, we've had that for, I don't know how many
Oh,
years.
Ms. Dodge used to do that.
That's one of those things that was cut in the grants, that's being shifted into your budget.
Ms. Dodge did about 4 or 5 years ago.
I'm not saying you can't cut it, I'm just saying don't,
I mean,
it's
if we want
not
to save
a,
the
it's
real
not a
money,
growth in the program.
we need to have larger classrooms, we need to cut our after-school programs, because they're really not, well, I'm not going to say they're not educational, but they're not required.
Right.
But we
So,
want, we need them.
if you really want to save money, that's what we've got to do.
Jackie, Paul has every right to ask.
I'm not saying he doesn't.
He has every right to ask every question. He's doing his job as a board member, and we should, doesn't matter whether we're here for 2 hours or 4 hours, we should review it, go over it, and make a decision based on it. So I'm here for the evening, and it doesn't matter. I appreciate the fact that he spent that amount of time looking at it, and we should be able to satisfy his questions and go accordingly. So continue.
Well, that is one that I would ask. Is it a program that should continue? How long has it been in existence then, knowing that it was
Decades.
granted?
4 or 5 years, Ms. Dodge, when she was here, started it.
More than that.
Even longer than that.
Longer,
Even
I
longer
would
than
say
that?
at
Close to
least
10
a
years.
decade.
It's just
Really?
no grant funding.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They take the
Very
kids to
successful
Brattleboro for a
program.
big meet and stuff like
What's the
that.
participation? What's the
Good.
Full, we always have a waiting list. We can only take so many children.
list?
I
Of
think ours
vacancy
is
spots.
close, 20-some girls this time. You can
Right.
only do so many.
Right.
We always have kids that want to be a part of it.
It's very well received. It's a great program. We have to turn kids away because we don't have enough funds to indeed, support all the kids that are interested in participating.
Adult volunteers.
It incorporates, right, faculty, students, families.
I guess one of the things reason why the other part of bringing this up is that when we first did the original request to bring this down to, get, I think it was, pick the number, 10%, that music, art, gym, all those other things were before this. So I'm just curious as the hierarchy of the priorities, because it came in, we're going to fund it, and maybe it's pre-existing, but it's still a program. It could be something that could be discussed, and it wasn't on that list, so I bring it up or to ask.
If my memory is correct, we did not have that. We didn't have music and art and library above that. That was not cut prior.
This wasn't in the list, though. Was it?
Wasn't in the list.
Wasn't on the
Wasn't on the
list.
list as an option to discuss, that I.
I don't think it was a separate line.
I don't recall.
That's why.
I don't recall.
I have it here somewhere.
I think you're right.
It's not on the list.
It wasn't a separate line on Girls on the Run.
Right. Was it part of other things in there or something, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. Which
There's the
ones
third
was it?
one down, I think.
I don't know where it was.
I don't have
In the second group, I think it was the third one down.
The contracted services in the second group?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
six
think-
group.
That would have fallen under that category.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
All
what
those
it
different
was.
$3,000 and $4,000
It was
items.
above. That was a group of
That's what
items,
Four Winds
including
was.
Four Winds.
Including Four Winds. That, I guess that, I didn't know that On the Run was there as well.
So I'm just saying but that's a value that should stay in there. because there's
Absolutely.
26 slots and.
From my point of view, absolutely.
$5,000 or whatever it is. Could have got it in two schools, Monument and Bennell. Right? I think, or.
Well, Molly does it
Is
too.
it Molly? I can't remember.
All three,
There's two schools that have the program in there.
all three.
All three?
We
No,
just,
Molly doesn't.
No, it does not have it.
You don't have it? There's a lady there that comes.
I know, she used to do it at Monument when she was there, and we've talked about bringing it over. She really would like to bring it over to Molly, and we haven't got it off the ground yet. But I agree with my colleagues that it's been, what we hear about it, it's been a wonderful program for girls to get involved with.
I'm going line item with Paul going through their salary guidance at Ben L. It's a jump from $52,967 to $124,855. Increase of $72,000. What is that?
I have that.
The behavior specialist is included in that line item, as well as the guidance counselor, social worker position. So it's going from one person to two people's worth of cost.
Homeschool liaison in there too, isn't she?
I believe the homeschool liaison is there also. I'd have to check to be sure, but I believe so.
I'm 99% sure, but I'll double check.
So what was in there again, Jim?
Guidance,
Well, Rick is verifying.
home liaison. Yeah, because the home liaison's 40%, I think, with no benefits.
40.45 position, correct.
Yeah.
So that would be the 24 and the 5th, so the other one's 48 or 49, whatever. What position?
Behavior specialist.
That sounds
What position is
relatively
it?
accurate for numbers, yes.
What position is it besides the guidance home liaison?
The homeschool liaison,
Behavior specialist.
or family outreach, the behavior specialist, and I believe the
Those
guidance
are
counselor
federal
is there.
programs we've absorbed, is that what it is? They were paid with federal dollars?
Title, Medicaid.
We were paid by
Title.
title, or through title
Title
services
this
at
year.
one point, and then we had to move those over.
You got your, I think you're right, let me just reiterate it. You've got your guidance counselor, your homeschool liaison, and your
Behavior specialist.
Behavior specialist.
behavior specialist.
Now, that
And the
behavior
and the
specialist,
behavior specialist and the homeschool liaison are new from year to year.
okay, but that behavior specialist is not to work necessarily with special needs kids, it's more of a behavior specialist for the school. Am I under that? Is that correct?
It's to work with all students in the school, and the intent is to be preemptive in trying to not have disruptions occur, as opposed to reacting to disruptions after they occur.
Is that the position that was filled part-time, the balance of this year?
It was not filled earlier in the year, and we did fill it during the school year, so we started the year without it.
Keep going, it's your turn to tag team.
Yeah, no, I've got a couple, things, but I think I want to call for an executive session for personnel.
Executive session.
Can we do the others first?
All I got.
Oh, that's all you got left?
That's all I got left. I saved them so I didn't have to.
Related to the budget, then you probably need to take it here if you're going to try to anticipate getting a bottom line and a vote date set.
Okay, do you want to discuss these items that Paul has brought up?
They're personnel items, is what he's saying, so they would.
Let's take one over, any other board member that has
Why
them,
not?
let's get them all.
Kelly has them, but we should do Paul's and then,
Let's do them all.
do you want to do Kelly's? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of stuck on the same thing that I was, which is the oil part of things. I know you cut some, and I know we keep missing each other. I'm still curious on the check and balance in effect between the deliveries that current under contract with Sears and West Oil, because I still have a number of connections in the oil business, and from my figure, and we've been paying, over the course of this year, we paid anywhere between 8 and most recently 17 cents more a gallon than we should be paying, based on our contract of rack pricing. When it says rack pricing Albany, there's a number of things in rack price in Albany. And
Right.
if we're only using one vendor that's using one supply point that doesn't have multiple choices to pick up, we're actually doing a disservice to the, in regards to this, because I ran rack rates for the days that we got deliveries back through what your office sent me, Rick, and like I say, here's 8 cents more, 6 cents, 17 cents, 12 cents, 6 cents, 12 cents, 17 cents, and that's per gallon.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to close that loop.
So
that surprises me, but I'll be more than happy to look into it.
I'd really like to know what, when they say Albany rack, what is their definition of Albany rack?
I'll have to pull the RFP because it's whatever we defined in the RFP.
Okay.
And I'll have to pull that out and find out what exactly that is.
Okay.
But
and then my other question is in regards to, I know, I think there's still going to be a surplus in the oil budget for this year before year end. And I know we can't use that to bring the budget down from next year, but can that money be prepaid into, if we're already under contract with these two oil companies for another year, can that surplus be paid to them for next year's budget as before June 30th?
no, auditors won't let us do it. Can't prepay a non-incurred expense.
Okay.
How many gallons, this is hard and fast, but how many gallons do we go, how many gallons do we do?
We do just under 50, about 48,000 gallons, I think, total.
I've got
roughly.
it here. 2011, Bennell used 22,620. Molly Stark used 16,031. Monument used 5,417, and Jerry's Shop used 1,073. 2012, Bennell used 19,200. Molly Stark used 14,011. Monument was 5,097. Jerry was 769. And year-to-date for this year, Bennell has used 21,000. They just got a delivery on April 17th. Molly Stark has used 14,014. I'm going to assume, based on the dates of the previous years, that they've got another load of product coming before year end. Monument just got oil on April 15th. Their total usage to date is 5,967 gallons, and Jerry's use to date is 768.
My question was gonna be, so, is that the number? Well, you figured 55, whatever, so close to it.
The budgeted gallons is 22,000 for Bennell, Molly Stark, and Monument.
Well, no, I dropped those.
Right.
So I guess where I was gonna go with that is I know that you can't buy something you don't own. You can't just have it sitting there, but, I mean, are we big enough that we could actually buy a silo over there and have it there? And then just take a delivery fee?
Don't know.
It's a new one.
Don't know. Look into it. I have no idea.
I don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea. I don't know, but.
Wouldn't it cost us more money though? I mean, you got a build thing, you got.
No, I mean, look to see if they have a.
We have to rent it.
If we're big enough that we could, yeah, rent it and purchase it all right
like
there.
Like they have outside of Greens there?
Yeah.
I mean, BSD obviously alone isn't, the question is SVSU collectively. We're losing North Bennington as a quantity, although that's not a big quantity, but 8,000, 10,000 gallons a year. Pownell has shifted over to all propane. So it's largely just you, Mount Anthony, and Shasberry.
Mount Anthony uses mostly wood.
All right, that's right. Thanks for reminding me. Mount Anthony is down to wood. So, I mean, we've dropped our gallonage a lot over the last 10 years. I have to go back and look to see what the RFP and it's probably 200,000 gallons or something. That's probably even a lot. But I can look. I don't know. I wouldn't even begin to know the answer to that question.
First, is it a good idea?
I don't know.
I bet you.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you could buy it cheap enough and then sit there and it wouldn't cost you.
They would know they've had the money, right? I mean,
Yeah.
potentially.
You could. Look into anything.
See, have more questions?
You got more, Mark? Sure? Okay,
You know, Rick, I do have a question.
Yeah, can I just, I just want to close the loop on the gallons. So, we're down to 21,000 gallons at both Bennington and Monument, or Molly Stark, and when I say Molly Stark, that includes Jerry's shop, which isn't a big user, but, and then 6750 gallons at Monument. At $3.60 a gallon is what I currently have it in at. I'm sorry, Kelly, what was your next question?
And you got it, what gallon, or what dollar a gallon?
$3.60 a gallon.
Because right now Albany Rack is $2.68 today. So
how much is rack,
$2.68. So I just,
Yeah. Would you add to that 30,000?
probably, yep. And then the contract of, you know, I don't know if we might even be able to come down a little bit on the price per gallon on that one, but that's for discussion.
That was today, Karen?
Yeah.
I'm gonna call my supplier.
Rick, on the new budget changes, this running total,
Yep.
where you had the original budget at 13,518,802 up on top.
Yep. That was the last budget that failed.
Right.
Yep.
But on the previous one that we've been working off of, you had an add back in of 26,000, which brought it up to 13,544,802.
Right.
I didn't see that on here.
Well, it's a note down below. The
I saw the note, I just didn't see it.
Well, it's all in the assessments.
Okay.
Because the assessments are total changes from the SVSU, and all
Okay.
that stuff is blended together.
Okay, all right. I had it noted that the assessments had changed, and that's where that is.
Yeah.
Move to go into executive session?
No, we have to take some action on this. We have to take some action on where we're at with these things that we can.
No, we don't, because we gotta listen to what he has to say.
For
and then make a
personnel
decision.
matters.
All right, I'm
It was
sorry.
for personnel matters.
You're right, Jackie.
Okay.
Apologize.
Second.
You need me
So
now?
moved.
No, Jackie,
Well-
move, you second. All in favor?
We'll be back.
What was the reason?
For,
Personnel matters.
What's this about?
I wonder if we should go down through, for the sake of the people that are here, with these items.
I think they wanna know if we're gonna warn them budget. I think that's why they're sitting there.
Is that right?
Are you here because you wanna see if we're gonna warn a budget? What's item numbers?
Riffing, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Same thing.
Ken, do you need to take anything with us? Need anything? All right.
back in open session.
All in favor? Unanimous, okay. Now, according to what we have here, we have 8, you want to go back over Paul's information that he brought out? The first one was $877 under liability insurance for the Board of Education. He was looking at level funding that.
Weren't you just going to total that up?
Yeah, I mean, what are you talking for a total overall? I mean, we're not talking.
877 plus the 200 for the crossing guards. And I don't know what you're working on at 16,000 for contract services buildings.
That's more of a, that falls under the other ones that I talked about. No different than, so looking at the custodial, if we were to sit here to decide whether we wanted to not, so basically what this would talk about, what this would do is, we wanted to ask folks to go back and talk to our vendors to see if there's anything they could do for us. Now, I'm not saying we do that if we're talking not enough to make, we're not, if we just want to go out and talk about this budget and support it, we can do that. If you're talking, because that 16,000, there's only $7,000 of it maybe that are, I think that's what the number you have, 7,000, that's 2 payments. I think you said.
Yeah, it'd be 2 payments of 7,000.
Right. For the heating contract.
And even if you were to try to get the big vendor that we have, which is the Janitronics, to take 3% off of their 178,000, you're talking like $5,000 from them. So your whole total here is only maybe $6,000.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that for that we push this off and not warn a budget, but so I'm not hard set in stone that we force people to go back and look at these contracts, but it's a discussion or initiative that I don't know if others would want to support that. I could support it, but it doesn't have to happen either.
What we could do is warn the budget and ask Rick if he could make that call to the vendor, Janitronics, and ask if they could do something because we're in need of saving some money and, every little bit would help. I mean, I think he could do that, and then it would just be into the fund balance if he was able to have any savings for the following budget.
See, I think it's not just the Janitronics. I mean, I went through the warrants. I mean, we've got 10 vendors that, we're paying $34,000 that are non-local. I mean, I think we go back to all of our vendors. Say, what can you do? I mean, it's tough on everybody. I think it's whether it's paper supplies, whether it's, a lot of the stuff that's out there is go back and hit them. Not hold anything up, but go back and draft up a letter and see what can be done.
No, there's nothing wrong with that.
So we may need that letter if the budget doesn't pass.
Yeah.
We need to.
Does that sound workable, Rick?
I can do anything. Tell me what you want me to do.
Would you give the names of those vendors you're interested in to Rick so he could make one general letter and send it out?
Why wouldn't I do it to all the vendors?
Right.
Or call them, okay.
No, why wouldn't I do it to all? I mean, I've got the vendor list. We'll just do.
If we have like a 2 or 3 year signed contract, is that something you can still initiate?
Can always ask.
You can always ask.
Right, that's.
All right.
What's the worst thing they're going to do? You say no?
Right.
Okay.
The question is, though, if you're trying to affect this budget line or a fund balance, what might be a fund balance out 2 years? Okay, just for clarification.
Right, and I guess the other driving piece of that, why to not hold it up, I think, and I want to make sure that I understand it, because you mentioned it briefly, and somebody else threw it out, I think Jackie might. What happens, there's a major consequence to not having a budget after June 30th.
Yeah, we only have 87% of this year's budget.
Right.
Period.
87?
Yeah. That means there definitely will be huge cuts.
Right, exactly. So I mean,
So
at the
you
same
would
time.
cut the 14 that you have here and the 13, so you'd have like a 27% cut in this
Oh,
budget.
your class sizes will be 50.
Right.
But in case something would happen, we still have the 7 days and stuff for another one.
If you stay with this state, yeah.
Right, so I mean, the worst case scenario is we warn this, we do as we're supposed to, we have the vote, if they shoot it down, then some of the work that he's doing now with requesting and asking, I mean, there's gonna be harder questions.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're gonna have to act even faster, because the timeline's gotten that much shorter because
Yeah.
of the June 30th, which is a major consequence of only 87%.
Just, the calendar allows us to do that, does it not, Rick, if we adopt it tonight?
For the 21st vote.
It would allow us, in the event that we lose it, to be able to come back again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can do it
By
every
the end
7,
of June.
you could theoretically do it every 7 days. But
Yeah,
if you lose this one,
but I know,
we need to work a little more quickly than we have this
Yeah.
time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so if what is the bottom line on this one? Because I have one that was printed, I think, on Monday. It's got 14.08. And you had made a few adjustments since
I
then,
told you I'd get you under 14, Ken,
right? So
and I did.
12.9.
what do we got, Rick,
Is
for
it on the
bottom line?
warning
13.9.
accurately?
13.91, okay.
13.91,
It's on the warning. 12.94. Is it 7:45 or is it 7:13?
I thought it was 13.6 was on the warning. Isn't 13.6 on the warning?
Just got a different one.
Well, can we have to motion then to warn this?
You guys are talking
Yeah, we gotta-
multiple numbers that don't relate to each other.
Okay.
You are considering warning a budget of $12,940,745.
Right.
Thank you.
But shouldn't it be the 13.6?
That,
The total expenditures we're asking them to approve?
oh, you're thinking
Right.
the grant?
No, I'm thinking
No,
total
the
expend,
the
what
grant-
we're
the
asking,
grant-
what
the-
we're asking the public to approve
But the grants
is
are through it.
the total expenditures for the coming year.
That's the 12. The grants you're talking about are through the SVSU that are supplementing your grant dollars.
I think the statute says we're asking them to approve our total expenditures, which on your schedule, I thought was 13.6.
But those grants reduce our expenditures to a,
Oh.
And that's actually FY 13. If you're using that logic,
Yeah.
it's
right.
14.6.
Well, okay, well, I just bring it up.
well, thank you.
But for statutory warning, what you are asking the voters to do is to raise $12,940,745. That's what,
Which is a
that's what the general states support grant will support. The others come from federal funds. I understand what you're saying, Claude, but
Okay.
this is what you're warning for documentation for the state.
And your warning
That
statement is in
is
your.
a 13.91% increase over FY 13's budget, and that results in, if you look on the MAU homestead tax rate, if you look at line 14, that results in, well, you gotta do a little bit of math, but that results in a $68 increase on a $100,000 home. And I hope you got copies of the warnings in your packet,
Should have.
reviewed by council. And so if you're happy, maybe I shouldn't say that, if you're willing to approve the budget as presented,
And support publicly.
someone needs to make a motion to approve the warning of a special meeting for May 20th and 21st,
So moved.
which calls for a budget of $12,940,745.
Yes, Monday is the 20th, and election's 21.
So it'd be the evening of the 20th and then
Need a
the
second.
vote on the.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, Kelly seconds. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. 5.
Thank you.
I'm gonna send you around 2 originals and a blue pen. I'd like them signed in blue, please. And your name is on here, so I guess find it and sign beside it. Don't sign somebody else's, please.
I did that once.
Pressure's on me to finish one.
The pressure's on you, because you gotta find yours first.
Do we have people that are gonna do these WBT on
That's
SVSU?
why it's on there.
I think you're doing them all, Jack.
Only if they're in the morning.
I got my calendar.
So the election day is May 21.
Yes, Tuesday the 21. Okay, Catherine has asked that we try and the board has wanted to publicize as much as possible this budget. So we got time on the radio a few times. Cat TV is open. Mike Bethel said we could do that. We may look for a person to write a letter or two for the Bennington banner. So what we want to do is first is fill in those slots here. WBTN, SVSU, The View, May 6th from 1:30 to 2. Catherine will be on these shows, and she's just looking for some help.
Yes.
I'm out of town. I really am.
I am too. Is anybody able to go with Catherine on the radio?
Yeah, that's next week. Yeah.
This coming Monday?
The Mondays are a half-hour show that,
Are these all Mondays?
No, the second
the
one's a
6th,
Tuesday.
6th, 13, and 20 are Mondays, and then the 7th, I believe, is a Wednesday.
The 7th is Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Tuesday. Thank you.
I'll do the Tuesday the 7th.
Okay, Rick, could you be available for the Tuesday?
I work at the pleasure of the superintendent. If you tell me to be available, I have to be available.
I would like.
Do you want more than, I mean, Tuesdays are, Monday, I'd have to go back and, I got meetings on every
You
one
can
of
put
those
me down
times
for the
Mondays,
7th.
But do you want more than one board member there at those things, or?
It'd be good.
Because I could do a Tuesday, I could do the 7th, the Tuesday, I could probably,
Okay, sure. Why don't you join us that day?
but the other Mondays, I'd have to find out if I can do.
And I think 3 guests, 4 of us is fine so the 7th is taken care of. The Monday half hours, I also can do one with the principals.
I can do one on the 13th.
You can do the 13th, Jackie? That's
Yep.
great. We'll try to vary them a little bit, but give some basic factual information about what's
Doesn't
in the
anybody
budget.
want to meet with me on
o'clock.
the 13th?
Pardon?
News and Views is at 1 o'clock, right?
1 to 2.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Monday.
That's a Monday, too?
Right, yours, Jackie, is a half-hour show.
Well, I go on the 13th.
News and Views, May
Oh, it'd be
7th.
me and Claude.
Okay, good.
Well, that's on the 13th.
On the 13th.
Okay, and I'll do the 7th with
Yep,
Paul.
I've got that. So we need the 6th and the 20th, and principals, any of you available on one of those Mondays?
Anybody can help on the 6th?
1 o'clock to 1:30?
I'm out of town. I think.
6th or the 20th?
Well, that was an extension. You had asked for that day to be extended an hour, because remember you said Mr. Lucy
Yeah,
was
I'm
there in
sorry.
the morning?
Yeah, you're 1:30, I'm sorry, on the 6th, it's 1:30 to 2, because the Interact Club is there from 1 to 2:30.
We'll all do the 20th at 1 with
20th
you?
with the principals, great.
Thank you.
And then we just have the
Who's
6th.
doing the Cat TV?
The 6th, Monday the 6th, coming up, anybody?
Radio station.
Well, they said they would do it. I
At
thought-
1:30. They're going to do the 20th, principals. Actually,
I can do
No.
the 20th too if you need someone on the 20th.
okay, it's really the 6th right now, we're looking for Monday at 1:30.
I thought the 3 of us would do Bethel.
Who's that?
6th? Okay, great, thanks, Kelly.
I thought Kelly said he would try and do it, the TV show, and you would,
Well, let me know, will you?
Let me
Because he does
clarify
it-
the CAT TV. You had an invitation, I believe, from Mike Bethel, but there's also, you can do your own CAT TV as well. And then what we'll do is see when you're available, and we can either tape it or have it live, depending on their schedule.
You could do Cat TV during the day, I can do.
yeah, okay.
Uh,
Can you
we
call
also
up and
could-
find
we-
out about Cat TV, what time, and get back to us, and we'll tell you.
They
who
actually
can-
will work, they only have a few that are blocked out totally, so I can work around your schedules. Who's interested in the TV?
I'd do it.
If I can do the time, George
Yeah,
says
we'll
he would
make
do it.
in the mornings. Okay. George, Jackie,
Kelly said he would do it, speak to
Rick, Jackie. Okay, I'll get a group together, and we should have an outline and some slides on that. We've done this before.
I won't be back until 9th.
Do you think you could
Or
write?
the 8th.
Who can
Eighth,
write a
Jackie?
letter or
Okay.
two people, one person write a letter to the editor? Or not a letter, but or
We could be guest column?
Guest
or-
columnist,
Or
yes.
it can be a letter, or both.
Catherine, I'm guarantee will help you.
I will.
You can just make a rough draft and send it to her, and she'll, check it for facts and
I
figures.
see somebody looking at me.
You had mentioned in the last meeting, we gotta write letters, so now's your
You're the
opportunity.
chair, I'm not the chair.
You write much better.
Yeah, I'll write a letter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
So we got everything filled.
What
We'll get back to
about,
the
did
TV.
you want to schedule any forums?
Oh,
or
yeah, we
public
have to have a
forums?
forum, exactly.
Well,
yes.
you need the evening of the 20th
The evening of the
anyway.
20th, right.
But I didn't know if you wanted any more. And the whole board should be there for if you can be, the evening of the 20th.
How about like the 16th? Does anybody, people have free time on the 16th in the evening, Thursday? To have a meeting, some general meeting of the public?
Good. It was the 20th.
Yeah, but we should have another one on top of the 20th in case people have questions and so forth. We could answer them on the 20th or get back to the people. It's kind of unfair. If they come up with questions on the 20th and we have to give them the answer, the next day is a vote. We should,
I could be the 16th.
you could do the 16th?
I can too.
Hmm?
I can too.
I can you,
Is that a
George?
Thursday? Yeah.
I'm the only person that probably can't.
Where would you like to have that?
What day would fit better for you, Jackie?
It doesn't matter that week. The only day I got off is Monday.
Oh, Sunday.
Want to do the 16th at
Monday or
7,
Saturday.
6:30?
What, would you do that in conjunction with the CAT TV on the 16th?
See
No,
if they can film it?
she wants to get the TV done as quick as possible so they can run it in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Can't do the 16th.
You can't do Tuesday.
I can't, I'm at a conference the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
Okay, you and I will get your schedule together.
Well, you could just get prepped, and
Okay.
Lori can make those.
Yeah. But you may want him for the 16th for the, you'll be there the 20th.
The 14th better? You can do the 14th?
14th.
Yep.
How about the
14th?
14th?
Well, 13th.
No, you'll have members that may have a special meeting for SVSU board on the 13th.
Oh, that's right, there's a,
The 14th, Tuesday?
can you do,
CSU isn't voting on budget.
oh, we're voting on something important. The 14th, how's that? Kelly?
I can do the 14th.
You can do the 14th, George, you do the 14th?
I put it down. I
Okay.
think I can.
Okay.
Where's it going to be?
Where?
Special meeting, I don't know.
A special,
Should we have it in one of our schools?
yeah, we might.
You want to do it at the firehouse? Be
The
consistent?
firehouse will be on the 20th. You want to use the firehouse as well for the 14th?
Can we get access to that?
We'll call, see.
Okay, why don't you just try it then, okay?
Okay,
Where we gonna have it?
What time's it gonna be at?
Firehouse,
What time?
On the 14th?
on the
Yes.
14th as well.
and the 20th, we
And the
need it for
20th.
2 times, 14th and 20th
And the
firehouse.
20th is warned for 6:30.
Information meeting.
What time's the 14th meeting you're gonna have that for? 14th, the time?
6:30 or 7, you say?
6:30 or 7, what would you like?
Either one, doesn't matter.
Let's do 6:30.
Yeah.
6:30? Yep, okay, 6:30.
Okay.
You have some logistic stuff to do. Thank you for volunteering, everybody. Okay, now, tough stuff. Personnel, motion and to reduce in force.
Reduction in force? So moved.
You have a second? So Paul seconds. Any discussion? Now, these, you gotta understand, are by contract, as Catherine said, and when the budget passes, then, right, these would be, just put right back in,
Be on recall.
all back on recall.
We had to do this a few years ago,
Yes.
too.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor of motion to reduce in force? Unanimous. I hate to do it. Okay, consent agenda. Catherine has hand-carried a field trip.
To add just an addition of one field trip for Bennington Elementary to Old Sturbridge Village on the 31st of May.
Friday.
Sturbridge.
If you would add that, please.
That's a nice place. Williamsburg is better, but.
Yeah, but it's a lot farther.
A little bit further. Okay, on the consent agenda, can we have a motion to accept it?
So moved. As amended.
Okay, a second by Claude. Now, Kelly, you said you had some questions on the consent agenda?
Yeah, I've just got a few that go by real quick.
If you have the check number, Rick can look it up.
Looks like we bought an Apple iPad. Looks like the line item was through Molly Stark. I got a PO or an invoice number, Rick?
Check number would be bad.
9434.
Check number?
Yeah. Yeah. The question being,
Well, later on in here, there's also 2 Kindles that were purchased with the same line item. I'm just curious what those are for, or being used for. I don't know if you can answer, if you have any idea on that, or, because there was,
was that?
at Staples, there were 2 Kindle Fires purchased on check number 9474. And they both went out to the same account number.
It's not the new grant.
That may be a Frank question, you probably should ask that at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah. Certainly can get back to you. Can't answer it right here.
Okay. All right, next one, there's a tuition bill to Arlington for $13,155 or a check.
Want to send me that information?
Yep.
Thank you.
That might be an executive session.
Okay.
Not might, is.
Okay.
Yeah, I would assume.
And the last one I've got, there's a line item for a consultation for service teams and SMG to a Carolyn Romano, to the tune of $1,468, 13 hours at $1,170 and 2
Like a
nights.
trauma sensitive. Yeah, that's,
And little information on that, or what that was.
Sure.
Donna McKenzie can answer. It's a program at Molly Stark for the whole, I think it's the course. Go ahead.
Carolyn Romano was a school improvement coach that worked at Molly Stark last year. She was paid through our school improvement grant. That grant was, did not have that grant this year, but the work that we started with her, we continued, and we had her come in for 2 days to work with our service team facilitators, service team groups. She also, totally separate from this, but she did a workshop with 21 teachers from Molly Stark, participated in after school, 8 weeks, 3 hours a week, workshop on trauma sensitive information. So she's a coach that we'd have to.
Okay. Thank you. Good.
Are we going, We're going into executive session for the Arlington question?
We can.
We can do it at the end, I mean.
Yeah, we can do it at the end.
I just wanted to make
Did you
sure,
want to
'cause
reduce?
I'm gonna need Donna to come in with me.
Yeah.
Donna calling.
Okay, we have a motion and a second then, if there's no other questions.
So move.
All in favor of consent agenda? Okay, unanimous. Okay, no policies, no old business. SVSU board meeting, we had a presentation on the standards that going to be coming in the next year or two. Also, George and I and Claude was there, we made a request to reduce the assessments by 400,000. We got 75,000, which saved us 19, so that was about it. Okay, about anybody attend the food service? Is that Marie?
No, that's me.
Okay.
Biggest thing came out of the food service, there's going to be an increase next year in lunch of roughly 15 cents. I believe that was approved. Am I correct by that, Rick?
Well, that's being recommended to the SU board.
Recommended to the SU board.
The SU board will take final action.
15 cents across the board. And then there was some extensive discussion in regards to healthy, unhealthy snacks, in regards to whether the Career Center was in or out of whatever.
The CDC.
CDC. And that was, I think that was kind of it in a nutshell, if I remember right, wasn't it? Those were the two main items.
And the free breakfast for the first 2 weeks?
Yes, free breakfast for the first 2 weeks of next school year.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Approved as well.
Just a minute.
Thank you. Also, the technology meeting is going to be set, it was yesterday, I guess.
Yeah.
It will. You will be on it, Jackie, next time.
Chair's reports, again, Catherine gave an update on the code of ethics. Again, we're still working on it. We want to have something that's user-friendly, not as tight as the other ones were.
People take that too.
Okay, superintendent's report.
I just want to remind board members that there is a conference at Lake Maury on the May 22nd and 23rd regarding the world-class education framework that's coming out of joint associations, School Boards Association, Superintendents Association, and
They must think school board members don't work.
That's your report.
anyway, if you wish to attend, you need to let Mary Lee know as soon as possible.
No, this is a special meeting with superintendents. They invited chairs.
Invited chairs or other
You
board
want to go,
members.
George? Anybody want to attend that?
Love to, but
I
I can't.
will report.
No, I'm working.
I will report.
Okay.
So,
I gotta pay my taxes.
Okay, is there any others to come before the board this evening? Anything else you'd like to bring up that we haven't covered? Yes. Okay, can we have a motion to go into executive session?
for personnel matters, evaluations, and student matters.
All of them.
Second? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
And we'll start with,
You want Donna calling and I?
Yeah, you.